One of the biggest issues with the Minnesota Timberwolves this season has been the lack of point guard play that they gotten from the position. Mike Conley's age has definitely shown this season, and they really don't have that much playmakers on the team in general. But a player that they spent a lottery pick on in Rob Dillingham could be the answer to solve those issues, but the problem is that he's not getting the opportunity that he should be getting. And I feel like there's a multitude of reasons why he's not getting the opportunity, and I'll get into that today. But before I get into that, I ask that y'all go down and subscribe. My goal is to hit 500 subscribers. We hit 300 recently, so I'd really appreciate it if you like the content, if you go down and give me a sub. Anyway, let's get into the video. So far on the season, Rob Dillingham's averaging only around 5 points and 2 assists per game. He's shooting pretty bad from the field and from the 3-point range, but his statistical output really shouldn't reflect like how good you would gauge him as a player because he simply hasn't gotten that many minutes on the court so far this season. His highest minutes was, I believe, against the Jazz. He got like 20 minutes a game. And yeah, he just gets like, on regular about like 7, 8 minutes a night. And it's a really confusing situation because the Wolves spent a lottery pick on this guy. And even then, there was other players on the board that they could have drafted over him, such as Mondes Buzelis or Tristan da Silva. Players that have shown to have more capabilities that could match with this Wolves offense or what they're looking for. But coming into the draft, Rob Dillingham was viewed as a kind of like a project player. I think the most realistic upside that a lot of people seen was him being a spark plug guy, and the Wolves simply haven't allowed him to become that or even tap into that potential yet so far. One of the main issues I see is when you see Rob Dillingham on the court, he kind of just plays pickup ball. He takes a lot of ill-advised shots. He doesn't really play make for the offense. He kind of just does what he wants to do. And naturally, that's just the kind of player he is. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons why he's not getting the opportunity that a lot of people believe he should be getting is because his game's naturally just like this spark plug offensive dude. He's not really meant to be a playmaker like that. And he's still a young player. I mean, it's his second season, so he still has the time to develop into a player like that. But we haven't seen it so far because the Timberwolves simply just haven't put him in the situations to be that kind of player. Now it could be a mix of if he wants to be that kind of player or if the Timberwolves simply just haven't focused on that at all. Usually they give the backup minutes to guys like Dante DiVincenzo. Even Anthony Edwards plays point guard at some moments just because he's their best playmaker on the team. But so far this season, I haven't seen Rob Dillingham get any sort of reps being like the lead primary playmaker. It's kind of just whenever he has the ball in his hands, he just, takes his shot, gets his little buckets, and then comes in and out of the game. And if he's not going to get those opportunities to be a playmaker or to experience being a primary playmaker on the team, being an actual point guard, then, this is kind of player that he's just going to turn out to be, just like this inefficient, high volume scorer off the bench. And the Wolves have another guy on the team in Bones Hyland. That's basically what Rob Dillingham's looking to become. Bones Hyland, for his career, has been viewed as a guy off the bench or even plug him into the starting lineup. He could get you buckets here and there, but he doesn't really offer anything besides scoring. And we see where his career went. He went from a young and rising, shining player with Denver, that he bounced around from team to team, and now he's on the Timberwolves. People gave up on the fact of Bones Hyland actually being like a competent NBA starter caliber player. So yeah, do I think Rob Dillingham's bad? Not necessarily, but the main issue of why he's not getting the playing time that he wants is simply because he's not really that valuable of a playmaker to the Timberwolves offense right now. Whenever he goes out, he just, takes his shots and, calls it a day. And if he continues doing that, then this is kind of where the Wolves are going to be at. And they're realistically in a situation where they have to have Rob Dillingham work out as a player for them. They spent a lottery pick on him. You could have traded that lottery pick if Rob Dillingham doesn't turn out to be a solid player at best. Or even then, people are going to look back at the draft and be like, oh, well, you should have drafted this guy or you should have drafted that guy. If I'm not mistaken, Ryan Rollins was in the same draft and he went undrafted. So the Wolves can't screw this up. And hopefully, I don't know, something happens. Maybe Rob Dillingham, an injury happens, but maybe he gets more opportunity, or they finally decide to give him more minutes and give him those reps and experience to run and play make as the primary point guard. Who knows? You would think Mike Conley as your vet would, teach you a couple things about being a primary playmaker on offense because we've seen Mike Conley for his entire career be a pretty solid playmaker. But yeah, that's just my spiel on Rob Dillingham and why he's not getting the opportunity that people believe that he should get. It's just simply due to his play style. And I feel like the Wolves should have maybe considered a different route, a different player to draft that fits more with their, pseudo style of offense. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about Rob Dillingham. Is he a good player, bad player? Is there other issues with his game? Does his game not translate that well to the league? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time.